Hey YouTube, this is Jaden Storm Konichi Team Shadow Strike, and this is a video discussing ripples. Now, I knew I was going to be asked this eventually, because it turns... In case you guys didn't hear, the Vanguard World Championship in Japan was streamed the other... It was like... I think a couple days. It was like last Thursday or Friday, maybe Wednesday, somewhere in that time period. It wasn't that far. It wasn't that far off. And in this video, I will be leaving a link to the final match, which led to me doing this discussion because I knew eventually I was going to be asked about it. And that is this: the final of the Vanguard World Championship in Japan that streamed not too long ago. It was Ripples versus Metalborgs. Now, before I even watched this match, I was 95% sure of who would win, and that is Ripples. Now, props to the Metalborg player. When you watch this match, if you have faced the Ripple deck, you can imagine how this Metalborg player felt, especially if you know anything about Metalborgs. One of my teammates is a Dimensional Police player, so I think it's fair to say that I've seen Metalborgs a time or two and might know a thing or two about them. Actually, considering how well my friend Christian plays them, I'm pretty much a master at knowing how they work, not knowing how to... And I've never built Metalborgs, guys, and I could probably build them and play them. Not as good as him, but enough to know what I'm doing with the deck. And based on how this guy played, he obviously had his own strategy. The one thing that didn't make sense to me was he was using Black Boy as his starter. I don't necessarily understand that, but, you know, to each their own. But Metalborgs, unfortunately, their best skill can't be activated until you get into Legion. And, well, they gave them a Stride unit in the Fighters Collection that kind of helped them out if they didn't want to Legion automatically. But also the problem with that is both of you players need to be at grade 3. So until both players get to grade 3, there's not a whole lot that Metalborg can do. So props to the guy for trying, but the Ripple player ran away with this, guys. In Game 1, I'm not going to go through all the games, guys. You can watch that for yourself. But kudos to the Metalborg player. I wish it would have went to Game 3 at least for the Metalborg player's sake. But the Ripple player won 2-0, and you know, what spurred this video is this: I knew eventually I was going to be asked, should the Ripple deck get hit? Is there something that should be limited? Should the deck, you know, have something done to it? You know, because, you know, people were freaking out when Conroe and Novell was running around, and that led to Conroe getting banned as the starter of any Kagero deck. So now people are saying, is Ripples going to get hit? Well, I'm going to show you right quick here the 3 best cards that Ripples in their deck have. And all 3 of these cards, one of them's a rare, the other 2 are common. And this is what leads to Ripples getting out of hand. The first card that we're going to talk about is obviously the Ride Chains Grade 2. This is Rising Ripple Palroth. Now, his ability is when the Grade 1 Sortorio is in the Soul, the Grade 1 of the Ride Chain, he is a 10k body, which is great considering even if your opponent goes to Grade 3, you still have at least a body to hide behind that is manageable. Then his other skill is when this unit's attack hits a Vanguard, if you have a unit named Silent Ripple Sortorio, which is the Grade 1 of the Ride Chain again, is in your soul in this attack hit, choose one of your Aqua Force rearguards, stand it, and that unit gets plus 3,000 power. This card leads to frustrating things because if you go first, that's actually pretty good with this deck if you can open up with a Great Swarm. Because if you can get a booster behind this thing and he can swing for 16 at minimum and his attack hits, another attack happens that is going to get stronger because of his skill. The next card is this. This is a card called Tidal Rescue Sea Turtle Soldier. It came out in BT13 Catastrophic Outbreak. Now, when this card came out, nobody played it in their Tetra decks. No one played it in their Last Card Revan decks. No one played it in their Maelstrom decks in the competitive scene that I know of. If you played this in your deck, kudos to you. But the reason this card is stupid, is because, well, first off, he's the exact same copy of the Grade 2 Musketeer that everyone uses in a Musketeer deck. When this unit is placed on the Vanguard or the Rearguard, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a Grade 1 or 2 Aqua Force unit, you place that card on the Rearguard. So if you do reveal a Grade 1 or 2, you have to play it. But if it's a Grade 0 or a Grade 3, you put it back and you shuffle your deck. Now, the most broke card in this deck, period, no argument, is this. Flash Ripple Odysseus. Now, this card combined with this creates stupidness. And by that I mean Odysseus effect gives you the ability to correct your ride chain. What you do, if this unit's on the Rearguard, you take one of your own Rearguards and put it into your soul, then you search your deck for a Ripple unit that is the same grade as your current Vanguard and you ride it. So that gives you a way to correct your ride chain. If you didn't have the Grade 1 Sortorio, you can search it out on your first turn if you have this in your hand. Second, you can search out Pavroth. But then, after you have rode your Ripple unit, you superior call one unit out of your soul that is the same grade as the unit you rode, and it gets plus 2,000 power. So what you would end up doing is if you ride the correct Grade 1, which is your Sortorio, you're generally going to ride your Sea Turtle onto it. This is going to give you the ability to check the top card of your deck. If it's a Grade 1 or 2, yippee for you. If not, that's fine. You're going to just shuffle your deck back. But if you also have this on the field, you're then going to place a Rearguard into your soul and superior ride Pavroth. Then what does that lead to? That lets you call a Grade 2 out of the soul. We're going to call out the Turtle again and get his effect again. And he's going to become a 9k attacker because of Odysseus' effect. And if we have another Odysseus on the board, we can do the same thing again and again and again and again. So some people are going to start asking, should this deck get banned? Well, there's also another trick that you can do with this deck that I like to call, oh shit, Mega Legion. And because you can technically Legion 4 times in one turn if everything falls into place the right way. And you might be asking yourself, Jaden, how can you Legion 4 times in one turn? Well, guess what? I'm going to show you. But you don't see the multiple Legion, because you can do it 2, 3, 4. It's really up to you. But it doesn't show any of that in to the match, and I'll put a link to the match for the World Championship in the description below. The Aqua Force player never even strode. He never even Legioned in either game. But and before I show you this combo, this isn't the problem. Miltiades is a good card, but he is not the reason this deck is broke. The reason this deck is broke is because of Odysseus. This guy has a good effect. He lets you draw a card, he lets you countercharge, and he stands up a Rearguard. I'd say if this was at least a Counterblast 1, because what makes people so mad about Odysseus is he's free. He's not a Generation Break unit, he's not a Counterblast unit, you don't have to discard a card, nothing. And since you place one Rearguard into the soul and are always going to pull one out, you don't even minus. So that's what makes people mad about Odysseus. But, okay, I'm going to show you how you can technically Legion 4 times in one turn. So here we go. So this is our triggers. We're just going to put that stack right there. We have our starter. And we have rode... Whoop, that is not Sortorio. And we have rode our Grade 1. We have rode our Grade 2. And now we've rode our Grade 3. Let's get ourselves a field. Let's say our field looks something like this. To get the full effect off, if you want to do the Legion multiple times, you're going to need at least you're gonna need some Odysseus's, and I've actually done this exact where the board looked exactly as you see it in front of you now. Now, before you do this combo, you need to count your Miltiades's. You need to make sure that you have, as many times as you want to do this, you need to make sure you have as many Miltiades in the deck as possible. So when you start this combo, you might want to Legion a couple of these back. Here's why. Make sure you also have your Genovius's if you're planning on using Genovius's skill at the end of all this nonsense. Make sure if you don't have one in your hand, at least that there's at least a couple in the deck. Ride Miltiades. Counterblast 1, look at the top 3, grab a Ripple, put it into your hand, and then put the rest into the drop zone. Legion. So put 4 cards back. So any 4 cards back. Bam. Okay. Let me teach you something about Legion. It doesn't say it on this because this is the first card where they don't explain what Legion is. So I'm going to reach in here to my handy dandy cross deck, and I'm going to read you what it says here about Legion. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit may return 4 cards from your drop zone into your deck. Search your deck for the specified card in Legion. You may. M-A-Y. May. Not you must, you may. If you look up the proper ruling for Legion, it does not, I repeat, does not say that you must search out a mate. It says you may search out a mate. You must return 4 cards to the deck in order to perform Legion. That is paying the cost. Paying the cost, just because you pay the cost, does not mean you necessarily have to do it. When I use Dragonic Burnout in my Overlord deck, I can put 1 card from my drop zone that has Overlord in its name to the bottom of the deck and Soul Blast 1 and not destroy a rearguard if I so please. But it says you may, which means it is not a mandatory effect. So I just Legioned and returned 4 cards to the deck and did not search out my mate of Genovius. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my first Odysseus's effect. And I'm just going to turn it sideways like that, so you know that I've used its effect. I'm going to take a rearguard and place it into my soul. And then I'm going to search my deck for a Miltiades, which is then going to kick off Odysseus' second effect. Call this out from the deck. Plus 2,000 power. Now I'm going to use Miltiades' effect to look at the top 3 and add a Ripple to my hand if I so please. Legion again, because this was the Miltiades that Legioned. Only this card can Legion. This is a new unit that has not Legioned yet. Return another 4 cards to the deck. Still not search out a mate, because I have another Odysseus that I know I still have more Miltiades into the deck. Use his ability. To the soul. Superior call. Superior ride. Superior call. Plus 2,000 power. Use his skill again if you want. Put another 4 back. You know what? There's still some triggers in there. I want to do that one more time. Bam. This time, Legion a 4th time, and this time I will finally search out my mate. That's how you do it. And you can just do that to return triggers to your deck. And keep in mind, Miltiades is going to help you mill cards. So if you want to keep doing that to return more cards to the deck, whenever you mill, you can just put right back. And that's it. Yeah, I mean, that is one of the other reasons that make this deck so stupid is because you can do that Legion trick and just Legion 2, 3, 4 times in a turn. And there's nothing your opponent can do. You know, as long as you have more Miltiades in the deck and you have Odysseus's, you can continue to do that. And if you didn't know about that Legion trick, you probably are pretty pissed right now. Because in theory, guys, I played this against this one person at my locals who nobody likes, and he got so salty. And I don't play this in tournament that much anymore because I know it's a trollish deck. But I played it last Saturday at my locals because he was there and he hadn't fought against the deck yet, and I'm an asshole. So when he got to play against it, he was playing an Amon Legion deck. So every card in your deck that gives you access to the only ways that you win is never going to kick off. And I can't tell you how many times he would attack a rear guard, would attack this at 9,000 powered after the attack would go, well, sorry, it doesn't hit because he's 10,000 power. So, and, but he got so mad. You have to search out a mate. No, you don't. You may. May, meaning you have the choice. And he was pissed. And I counted. I returned 11 triggers to the deck because I drew a lot of my triggers that time in the early game, and I just guard, ride Miltiades, put them all back. He was just a little salty. But it felt good doing that to him, but I can understand why a lot of people hate this deck. The ability to sit on grade 2 forever and never let your opponent stride or legion can shut down a lot of decks. Shadow Paladins hate this deck. Gear Chronicle despises Ripples because there is no Gear Chronicle deck that does not need stride in order to get their abilities rolling. The Ripple deck is bonkers. Like I told you guys when I did my deck profile on this, there is only 3 cards in my deck that are double rare. Well, one of them's SP, but still double rare, which are my 3 Genovius, one of them's SP, both my Quintet Walls, and then both my Perfect Guards. So, I mean, unless you're counting also, if you want to count the G-Zone, because the G-Zone in this deck really exists is more for a formality. Because if you don't remember, my G-Zone is this: 4 Padromos, 3 Madu, and a Blizza. Not very imaginative, but guess what? You very rarely stride with this deck, and if you do, it's once, because you win on that turn, or you win the very next turn by legioning. So, I don't know if this deck will get hit. In my honest opinion, it probably won't. This deck is going to get put in check once Set 5 comes out and Chaos Breaker gets revived. But it doesn't mean that Miltiades and the Ripples are just going to die out. They're still going to be a thing. Do I think that Bushiroad will do something? Maybe. Is it likely? No. Because I just don't... There is one downside to this deck, guys. If you just draw a complete crap hand, you don't have a chance in hell. Now, that is rare, because in your opening hand, if you can open up with these 3 cards, the grade 1 of the Ride Chain, 1 Odysseus, and Turtle, it doesn't really necessarily matter what the other 2 cards are. You're pretty much set if you open up with these 3 cards, because you can get your Ride Chain right on the first turn, which is good. You can ride your Turtle next turn, and then you can start doing nonsense and building a field. So, literally, these 3 cards leads to this deck kicking off. But if you don't open up with any of these 3 cards, and you open up with just this disgusting hand, and you just don't see your Odysseus, you're screwed. So, but I do realize that's a big if, because every Ripple deck plays 4 copies of this card, and if they don't deserve the deck. But it is a pain to deal with, guys. There are some decks that just can't deal with it. And unfortunately for the Metalborg player at the World Championship, Sinbuster is not really a threat until you Legion. Yeah, he has his draw effect if he hits over 20, but he just didn't have much of a chance because this deck swarms you so hard. And if you let this card hit you, and I know that sometimes you're not letting it because you're not thinking, it's because sometimes you just don't have the choice because your hand is just not big enough. And this guy's effect to stand a rear guard and get 4 attacks off is just absolutely insane. So, is this deck worthy of getting something hit? Yes. If they were going to hit anything, they would hit Odysseus. But will they? I don't think so. The only thing I can tell you is if there's not a Ripple deck at your locals and none of your friends have it, be grateful. I built this deck because, 1, I kind of always liked the Ripples, and 2, I just thought it was fun. Because I was kind of getting, bored playing the same thing, so I built Ripples just to have it and to discuss it and deck profile it. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't build it also with just a small intention of using it on that annoying kid at our locals. Because it was just, I cannot tell you the satisfaction I got looking at his face while I legioned 4 times in one turn. I got so much satisfaction. His face was something like, inside his head he's going, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. But, oh well. Anywho, guys, I don't know what else to say about this deck, because to be real honest, as complex as some people try to make this deck seem, it's really not. Once you learn how to properly use Odysseus, you learn this Legion combo, that's pretty much it, and that's all you're going to do, because that's what makes the deck good, and then you're just going to continue to replenish your field using this and using your Sea Turtle with Odysseus to continually ride another Pavroth to call the turtle back out and get another Superior Call out of it. There's really nothing else that you're going to do, because that's just what the deck's good at. So anyway, guys, in the comment section below, tell me, have you faced the Ripple deck yet? What are your thoughts on it? Did you know about the Legion combo trick before I showed it to you? Maybe some Ripple players are going to be pissed at me that I showed this to you, but you know what? The reason for this channel is for me to share my knowledge with you, whether it's good or bad or completely broke. And this is way past broke. We passed broke when we just read Odysseus' effect. We're in the, as my friend Zane calls it, we're talking about communistic stuff. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope that this video was informative. I'm sorry if it angered you, if you did not hear about the Legion trick or not. But anyway, guys, please in the comment section below, give me some feedback. Let me know what you think, even if you just want to completely just talk crap about the deck. You know what? Go for it in the comment section below, because I have both piloted and had this deck stuck on me before, and it is not fun to play against. I have also done a mirror match, and if you want to see some very, 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 very interesting games, watch a Ripple mirror match now. Maybe I'll get Cody to do that with me, and I'll record a game for you guys for the channel, but I haven't recorded a match yet with this deck, but I will. I'll record a match for this deck so you guys can see just how stupid this deck is. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. So in the comment section below, give me your feedback. Let me know, what did you think about this deck and all the things I talked about. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up this video for me, guys, and I will see you next time.